Hi, good morning, guys. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you are looking at this from. I bring you my weekly outlook regarding the PSI trade, and this week as well, be doing that. So let's quickly look at the economic calendar for this month, for this week. And on Monday, which is today, just already, we are expecting the Empire State Manufacturing Index number, which is supposed to have increased a little bit for the United States dollar. This is actually good news, and we can see that charts already reacting to that. On Tuesday, tomorrow, we are expecting CPI number the from the Canadian from the card, and also the US retail sales number, and also the CPI from the New Zealand dollar. One thing I want to take out here is that we're expecting a reduction in the number, or a revision downward in the number from last month for the CPI from the Canadian dollar, which would actually push the US dollars USD card higher to a new height. It's been trending lower, but we will see on the chart very soon that price has reached a point of support and could be actually trending higher. And also the New Zealand dollar CPI for the quarterly is going to be out tomorrow. We're expecting a bit of a downward revision of the price from last quarter. And also the CPI from the Great Britain pounds, which has been very strong against the US dollars, is also expected to revise down a little bit. And also on Thursday, we have the AUD employment change, which is supposed to reduce. But one thing I want you to take note of is here is the unemployment rate, which market is pricing in for a higher unemployment rate number, and this could actually push the Australian dollar down a little bit as well. And the claimant count change, I don't think this news will affect prices a lot. The unemployment claim from the United States dollar from the United States is expected to be on Thursday by 1:30. This is a major news, and we could actually have a revising down of this number, which could be good for the USD. I'll show you what I mean very soon on the chart. And on Friday, we have the retail sales number from the Great Britain from England, which is supposed to be revised down a lot, and this will actually have the Great Britain pounds trending lower. And let's move quickly to the chart, and I don't want to consume our time today. I'll just share some insight, as my zones are long overdue and I really need to redraw them. But at first, we'll look at the state in which the dollar index is in, because that is a pivotal what do I call it now? Pivotal index for every, a pivotal symbol for every pair I trade. If we look at the numbers from last week, I said something around this place. I said if the dollar does find consolidation around this area, we could have it pricing higher. But we see that was not the case. The dollar actually rallied downwards, rallied down to this zone of support. And you can see the reaction here from last week. The prices seems to have stopped bleeding. The United States dollar seems to have stopped bleeding. The index stopped bleeding, and it does seem to have found support at that level. And with this in view, I'll say that if the dollar can maintain a number higher than the 104 level, we actually have a rally upward and perhaps a filling of this gap this week. So if the dollar can maintain a stance higher than this, that is trade above this for this week, we could actually have this gap from last week tested as perhaps also filled. So the very important price point this week for the United States dollar will be the 104 level, which if prices continue to maintain a higher stance above, we could actually have a trade downward, or a short trade for most of the pairs that trade against the United States dollar. So be aware of this price point, the 104 level. We could see that there's a strong support here for the United States dollar index, considering technical analysis. And perhaps if this gap is filled this week, we'll have a retest of the 105.3 level. So be aware of that. For the Euro USD, we can see that Euro USD has been moving towards this strong area of resistance on the daily time frame, and that is at the 1.09200 level. And if their prices does trade but doesn't trade above the 1.09300 level, we could actually have an opportunity for a short trade. But the only confirmation for that will actually be if prices come and does this, comes downward and retests. So you can try on the lower time frame to look for other block entries around this price point for a short trade on the Euro USD. Except for that, it's actually a pricing higher because the market is in an uptrend, except we have a strong bearish order block formed this week and very early this week. We actually have just a pricing into this 1.09200 level and perhaps a price down into the 1.08500 level. That would be the best expectation, except the numbers does come out very good for the USD, is when we have this gap filled on the daily time frame. And moving forward to the pounds USD, pounds really surprised me last week after taking out this strong resistance zone. Like I said, the zones are all long overdue. I need to redraw them. We'll see that after prices took it out, prices did find consolidation on this zone and then rallied upward into this gap. And this gap could actually form a very strong resistance for prices this week. So let's be on the lookout for this price point, the 1.29800 and 1.3 pricing for the Great Britain pounds against the United States dollar to actually be a strong resistance zone, and we could have prices trading downward. But that will only be if this zone is not taken out. If the if prices trade lower from 1.0 up 1.3 price point, we could actually have a trade lower for the Great Britain pound, and with the number expectation as well, which is expected to come out bad, to actually have that in mind, a short trade. But like I said, concerning like the Euro USD as well, we expect something like this, a trade into this, and perhaps another block on the hourly time frame to trade lower. Except for that, I'll not actually be considering shorting the Great Britain pound as well for now. And for the Aussie USD is not I'm not actually be trading this lower for now. I'm actually be looking for long trades because this price is far away from any resistance, except we count this, except we are considering this high as being a resistance for price. We're actually I'm not seeing any strong resistance zone for the Aussie for now, so I could expect a trade into this imbalance because this is a very stable currency, and then look for another block for a trade into this high. That would be my expectation for the Australian dollar. But if the news does come out very strong for the United States dollar, we could actually have this gap being filled, this imbalance being filled, and perhaps a retest of this very strong resistance, which is supposed to turn into support for the Aussie. And very quickly as well, to the New Zealand dollar, NZD has been New Zealand dollar. The price seems to have found consolidation in this gap, and perhaps we could have a tumble around this gap, these two gaps, this bearish gap and this bullish gap and this bearish gap this week, unless we have prices taking out this gap, in which I'll be considering redrawing my zones this week. I'm actually considering redrawing it this morning, but I couldn't wait to redraw it before I bring this analysis. So if prices continue to trade in this gap, you can actually expect that if prices don't trade high and take this high, you could actually expect another block form on the daily time frame for a trade lower on price. But the expectation actually will be that either of these gap will get filled this week. The price point to be on the lookout for will be the 1.60800 level. If prices don't take out that with a strong bearish candle, we could expect a trade lower. But if prices continue to consolidate here, we actually expect that this high will be touched this week, depending on how strong the United States dollar comes out.